What to do when we come to packing those very fragile items or expensive items that need that extra bit of care. So we already have looked at the fragile items, packing boxes, using paper, but if we're looking at something like this, Royal Doulton China, we want to make sure it has that extra level of padding and protection to avoid any disasters on move day. So we're going to use our standard fragile box, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start lining the box already. So I'm going to take some bubble wrap and I'm just going to lay this down in the box first. Now, I'm going to wrap this in bubble wrap and I'm going to wrap it in paper and then we're going to put it in the box and we're going to stuff it. What we want is a cushion. None of this is touching the outside of the box. There's a crumple zone in between that and the box and there's nothing else close to it. So we're just going to put less items in the box, more packing materials and make sure that it is very well secured for transport. Now I want to make sure we get several coats around this. And now I'm going to wrap it in paper. So what I have now is a very well padded and well wrapped item, but we're going to put it into the box with additional packing stuff. So what I'm likely to do now is to take some of my packing paper and I'm going to make sure there's no movement in this at all. And as we start wrapping other fragile items and items of China, we're going to put them in and make sure there's no connection at all. We're stuffing every gap of that box so it doesn't move at all. When it comes to labeling it, I'm going to put not one, but 2 passes of fragile tape. So at a glance, it doesn't just say fragile, it has double fragile. So we know of all the boxes to look after, this one has to be handled with extreme care. So when it comes to packing bottles and liquids in your kitchen, there's a couple trains of thoughts. Firstly, if you have an expensive alcohol or wine collection, we can get special boxes which are going to segregate those bottles individually. But if you just have standard stuff from the cupboard, not too precious about it, we're going to pack those in a standard box. Now, we're going to wrap them as we've been doing our sort of glasses. Again, creating a nice crumple zone around that. And we're going to stack them into our box. It's important we do a check to make sure the bottle isn't too big for the box because we don't want to have the uneven surface if these are going to be stacked. When we're looking at bottles which have already been opened and they've got tops which are not secure, these you need to be careful. If this box gets laid on its side and tilt, there is the potential for this to leak out. So there's 2 things we're going to do to help mitigate this. Firstly, we're going to take a little bit of tape and we're just going to tape up the top. This isn't going to make it waterproof, but what it's going to do is ensure minimal liquid is leaked from this bottle. Then we're going to wrap that bottle and put it in, but we're going to write on the box very clearly this way up. We're going to mark it with our fragile tape, but we're also going to write on the side of the box this side up so we know when that box gets stacked either in a storage unit or on the van, it doesn't get put on its side, it doesn't get turned around because there is the risk of things leaking out of that bottle. So when it comes to packing pictures and mirrors from your house, there's a couple rules of thumbs we need to go by. What we're going to look at is the size of the item to be packed and how fragile it is. So if we're looking at anything that will fit in our standard fragile box, talking the standard sort of style picture frames, we're going to wrap these in paper. It's a wooden cover. There's no chances of it being glass on glass, but we're still going to wrap it with paper and put it in our box. Again, we're going to label the box fragile and we're going to stuff it up to make sure nothing moves in it. But what we've got is no glass on glass. We've got no danger of things scratching whilst in the box, and it's reasonably secure. If we look at this picture frame here, this one is all glass, glass edges, glass corners. Now this is going to need a little bit more than the standard paper wrap. So this is when we turn to our bubble wrap. We want to be cutting a square which gives us at least a couple coats to go round there. And once it's in the bubble wrap, again, I'm going to wrap it in paper to give it that extra protection. Anything that's too big to fit in the box, we do have padded picture bags to move these. These picture bags we can use, have several different slots which allow us to put your pictures in safe. Now, if they're ornate frames or very fragile or exposed canvases, we're going to wrap them anyway. So let's have a look at wrapping a mirror. Now, I've got mirrors, but this would be for anything which is fragile framed, exposed canvas, or anything that's just sentimental that we want to make sure we take extra care of. So again, got my bubble wrap, nice big flat working surface. Looking to have at least 2 coats of bubble wrap around it. So I'm going to line it up so my first piece comes all the way across, and then I can just draw it across and sort of wrap it. So 2 coats all the way around. And because I've got the excess on the sides here, it's going to give me a little bit to fold up and just make sure we've got extra padding on those corners. So to wrap the corners, I'm just going to fold up and then put some tape around the corner. So I fold up, got the extra padding on the front. And there we have a nice corner buffer to make sure those areas that, if it is going to impact, it's going to be the corners that get knocked first. So we've just got as much padding on there as we can from that bubble wrap. I'll turn it around and do the same on the other side now. Perfect. And there we have one mirror ready to go in our padded picture bag for transport. So a question I get asked a lot is how to pack lamps and what to do with them. Now, usually the problem with lamps is you have a heavy, fragile base and a delicate, fragile top. So really, to transport these safely, we do need to separate them. Most lamps unscrew quite easily. I'm going to take the bulb out and put that to one side. Which secures it, and then the lampshade will come off. We're going to put these directly into a large box. Usually I would leave this box open. I would label it top box. Top box meaning it's to go on the top of the stack. The items in here are so fragile, we don't want anything to go on top of it. So leaving it open so people can see, or labeling it top box and making sure it's well known that it shouldn't go anywhere other than on top of anything else. When it comes to the bases, if it's a fragile porcelain or ceramic unit, we're going to wrap it with bubble wrap. And again, that will get boxed up on its own, separate from the lampshades. If it's a standard one like this, it can probably go straight into a box without any protection. The other important thing to do is what to do with the cables. Now, this goes with a lot of electrical appliances that you've got. Whether it's in a box or not, these can be a problem. Large standard lamps that you're going to carry, we don't want these trailing about the place. So we're just going to wrap this up to keep it tidy. Just looping it in my hand like that. And then one piece of tape to keep it secured. So now we don't have a trailing lamp. So if someone was carrying a large item, we want to make sure this isn't going to become a trip hazard. And when it's been packed in a box, it's not going to cause any issues when unpacking, getting snagged, potentially damaging the lamp.